My Doctor, your health anytime, anywhere. Hello, lovely people. Welcome to the My Doctor podcast. My name is Mwesigwa Joy, and I am your host. We are still on our series, right? Our series of lifestyle changes. And for today, we're going to be talking about diet modification. What is a balanced diet? And most times, I think the word balanced diet is common, but people don't know what it encompasses. Most Africans think of greens. When you talk about a balanced diet, they think when they put a green thing on their plate, they have a balanced diet. But we're going to be talking about what does that entirely mean, right? What are the healthy foods? What are the unhealthy foods? Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about, because we want you to be able to eat things that are building your body and not destroying your body. So thank you for tuning in. So we are having this episode still with Dr. Yacoub on healthy living. We're doing health coaching for these 4 episodes. So yeah, stay tuned. Hello, Dr. Yacoub, once again.
Hello, Joy.
How are you today?
I'm good. Happy to be back.
Happy to be with you today. So could you introduce yourself for the 3rd time in case someone is watching this video for the first time? This series for the first time.
So my name is Dr. Yacoub, medical doctor, behavioral scientist, passionate about lifestyle change and health coaching, and the team lead at Vigilant Living.
So we have multiple foods, and I'm thinking probably this episode won't tailor to African foods, our Ugandan foods, just for better context. But I would want us to start by talking about what are the so-called healthy foods and unhealthy foods with like examples. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So yes, diet seems to be a trend now. Everything is a diet. Personally, I'm not a nutritionist. At the same time, I do not really look into diet in a way which is very critical, because we talked about the first episode, we talked about why metabolism is energy input, energy output. So whatever much you eat, we can still manage it, but as well as we can also manage through energy output through using the diet. So yes, however, there is what you can call really unhealthy diet. Yes, there is processed food. I've talked about how our bodies have not been wired to manage processed food. Now you can have fast food. You can talk about unhealthy oils for cooking food, trans fats. We can talk about soda and beveraged sweet drinks. So all of these, yes, which are made in factories, in companies to some extent, are the ones who maybe our bodies are not yet wired to manage it. I can just focus on one specific thing called fructose. So fructose is the sugar which is found within fruits. We can take fruits, however, taking soda or taking fruit juice is not healthy, because number one, you can eat 1 banana, that banana will fill you. But when you're drinking a fruit juice, that can be 10 bananas. So there's already a lot of fruits in that, a lot of fructose specifically. And our body does not actually have the right ways to use fructose. We have not been wired to use fructose, especially as Africans. Now, what happens when we consume a lot of those fructose? One of the things, aside from all the metabolic syndrome we talked about, is cancers, especially colon cancer. These days, a lot of people are dying from colon cancer. A lot of rich, powerful politicians, celebrities are dying of colon cancer. One of the reasons, because that's when we take a lot of that fruit juice, that juice goes down and feeds cells within our colon, which we're not supposed to get food. So by feeding those cells down there in the stomach, within the colon, intestines, we get what we call colon cancer. Very deadly, because we do not actually know we have colon cancer, mainly till it's too late. It is hard to know someone has colon cancer till the thing has grown and maybe it is blocking the colon, or someone is bleeding. Yeah, so I'm sure you have heard of politicians. A lot of famous people actually die.
Colon cancer.
Colon cancer, yeah.
You're talking about fruit juice. Do you mean only processed?
Even the other one.
Even the blender one?
Even the blender one.
So what you're saying is I would rather cut my pineapple and eat it than make juice.
Yes. You see, at the same time, even though, let me say, I've already talked about how you're going to eat 10 bananas or 10 oranges at once. But there's often we mix processed sugar when we're even making some of these juices. Yeah. So it still adds to the same problem.
Okay, but then let me give you 3 scenarios, because I want our viewers to leave this episode when they have understood to the brim of what we're talking about. So like, if I have we have 3 people. One is taking their banana. One has made juice. One is not taking fruits at all. Is the juice person at least, you get what I mean? Like at least the one who's taking the juice with the full pineapple and 10 bananas, and one who has eaten a slice of pineapple and 1 banana and they're full. Who is better? Okay, I know this one is better off, of course, but between these 2.
Okay, fair enough. You see, okay, one of the reasons why we take, for example, banana or a lot of the fruits is that they have fiber.
Yeah.
But when you blend, you lose the fiber.
The fiber.
Number one. At the same time, yes, there's still malnutrition. Malnutrition is still an issue. You can say in some areas within Uganda. But averagely, we already consume a lot of food. So there's less likely you can say someone is missing maybe the vitamins they could have gotten from maybe banana. Still, it's better that you consume fruits naturally. Yeah.
That's a learning point. Please buy your fruits and consume them. Anyway, so, and also in the beginning you talked about how some oils are bad. So as we are cooking, mostly the ladies do most of the cooking. There are so many types of oil. Yeah, there's the normal one that people use. People even recycle oil. That when you go to the roadside and someone is selling like Mama Brenda is selling chips, and they've used the oil for the entire month. They just keep adding new oil. So what oil would you recommend? And that practice of reusing oil, what's the effect? Is that bad?
Yes. So specifically, let's talk about processed oil. This is what we call trans fats. Now, they are fats which occur naturally within environment. Now, you can find in olive oil, avocado oil. There are a lot of oils which are natural. However, trans fats now, which are like grease, if you know that grease used for cars. Now, like we talked about street food, street chips. Actually, a lot of countries now are banning it. And Uganda, there are a lot of conversations going around to ban it, because that one is a big risk factor for what we call atherosclerosis, which is blood vessels in the body getting clogged. That is the unhealthy cholesterol. So if we talk about heart diseases mainly, talk about heart attack, you talk about stroke, you talk about peripheral vascular diseases, which happens in the legs and the hands, gangrene. A lot of them there are 3 main risk factors. Number 1 is what we call cholesterol. Specifically, there's a cholesterol we call ApoB, ApoB cholesterol. Actually, you can go and test your ApoB cholesterol. There's a test for it. If it is high, it is a risk factor for getting heart diseases in nutshell. And the second one is hypertension, having high levels of high blood pressure, the risk factor. The third one is smoking. So those 3 are the main risk factors where we even get a lot of these heart diseases. So yes, to avoid using oils to fry, yes, you can actually cook raw. There's cooking without using the oils. There's using healthy oils. I talked about olive oil. I know there are other oils which are also healthy. But especially the older you get, the better for you to avoid such oils.
The older you get, the better to avoid oil. But then if I have to, then I have to look for healthy oil.
Yeah.
So on the issue of street food, because most times people associate obesity. We talked about metabolic syndrome in the earlier episodes, and people associate that with being rich. Like obesity is a disease of the rich. So I want us to, so if I go to a nice hotel, big, and I take chips and chicken, and I've spent like maybe 57,000 for a plate, and then some other person goes for street food, buys their chips of 2K and a stick of chicken at like 3K. They've spent 5K. Are we at the same risk? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Are we at the same risk?
Yeah.
Who is at a higher risk?
Of course, there are some things you'll catch from street food poisoning. I mean, the food, maybe lack of hygiene. All those things.
Food poisoning, anyway.
Can
but
happen.
I feel like sometimes the body, if that's their lifestyle, I feel like the body gets immunity, yes?
I also had a couple of times, like there was someone who, it was a mother of a child who was obese. Childhood obesity is also a real issue. So the mother said but I'm rich. Like, why should I get other food because I'm rich? So yes, it is a, can you say it's a myth. It's a that for you to be rich, for you to be successful. Yes, in Africa, even within marriage, when there's a marriage, the sign of a good wife is that the man has gained a lot of weight. So there's a cultural elements. There's a lot of stigma on being small. In fact, the smaller you are, now you meet some of my clients, for example, they start losing weight. They are being told, "Are you okay? Are you sick? Do you have diabetes? Do you have HIV?" So yes, there's a cultural stigma around losing weight. But I think we have, society, we have reached a level where we just have to do it, because there's a whole epidemic of these NCDs, obesity, especially I've talked about women. Maybe you can say even contraceptives play a role for women to get that obesity. So yes, it's not something to be taken lightly. It is very expensive. Healthcare is very expensive. Tomorrow, if you need healthcare just because you have been obese, yes, doctors will charge you expensively, and you cannot really blame them because that is their work. Yeah,
So meaning both of them can get metabolic syndrome.
definitely both of them.
So please, you can spend your 5K and get metabolic syndrome. Be careful what you eat. Yeah. So, and also, so we have talked about the unhealthy foods. We have talked about processed foods, junk food, oils that are bad, recycling oils, juice. Fruits are better than juice and everything. So I want us to go into the healthy foods. What are some of the healthy foods that someone can eat to build their body?
All right, fair enough. So there are three main tactics we use to manage our diet. There's what we call dietary restriction. There's what we call caloric restriction, and there's what we call time restriction. So dietary restriction has to do with that now. The three main biochemical products we eat is carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. And we need all of them to function. However, the environment now and our lifestyle is full of carbohydrates. We eat carbohydrates from morning till evening, breakfast, break, brunch, lunch. So yeah, it is a lot of carbohydrates. In fact, we are not even eating as much protein to some extent. Fats are important.
What are some examples of carbohydrates?
Everything we eat, from bread to mandazi to
in simple terms, could we say
matoke
that
to
the
rice.
harder food like cassava, like the solid,
Yeah,
to some extent?
yeah, a lot of that starch, posho, millet, yeah, all of those are carbohydrates. Yeah. Proteins, of course, are now when we talk about meat, when we talk about eggs, milk, maybe some fish have proteins, which also can have some fat. Now, fats is now when we talk about now things like avocados, some of these oils, cheese, some of the fish have a lot of fat. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So in terms of all those things I mentioned, what would be the ideal meal plan for someone? Like, if I were to make a meal plan, maybe I have a family and then I want my family to eat healthy, what would, like, because people talk about a balanced diet, but what exactly should be on my plate for it to be a balanced diet? And like, how many times should I eat meat? How many times should I eat plant protein? Such things. Like, if I were to plan for a week, how would that look like?
All right. Fair enough. I would say that's why I classified it to dietary restriction, caloric restriction, and time restriction. Yeah. So the dietary restriction, yes, eat as much proteins as you can. Actually, there's nothing wrong with eating proteins. At the same time, there's also a myth about fat. Actually, eating fat food like avocados does not mean that you get cholesterol. It is actually wrong. We get cholesterol from eating carbohydrates. Yes, because our body, you eat glucose, you eat whatever mandazis, whatever matoke, a lot of sugars. You take it, the body starts storing it. The body now runs out of space to store it as glucose. So it goes to store it as fat. Yes, and that's how we get cholesterol. So actually eating food, I don't know if you've heard of ketogenic diet. It's a common thing which is going around these days. Yes, ketogenic diet actually works because if you're eating a lot of fats, you can stuff your body, but you'll not be hungry because the body can use ketones. Actually, the brain only use glucose and ketones, yes. So if you eat ketogenic diet now, like a lot of avocados, for example, if you eat 10 avocados at once, you'll feel full, you'll not be hungry, but you'll also lose weight. Yeah. Yes.
What of red meat?
Red meat also, yes. If you're eating red meat alone to some extent, it can do it. Maybe the challenge with it is now the way it is being roasted, which itself can contribute to the risk of getting cancers because they are what you call free radicals. When you roast that black char on top of the meat, it's not good. But yes, meat itself, eggs, they also do the same thing. Yeah. So the more, in fact, I would just say make your plate full of proteins and fat and less of carbohydrate.
I don't know if I'm understanding you. So if I have a plate, so am I okay if I put two slices of cassava? I put pork. You get what I mean? Because if you say that put more proteins, even the meat is proteins, right?
To an extent, yeah.
Cassava, I put more pork, and then I put a little bit of greens and a banana.
Well, I will actually support it because okay, anyway, pork specifically has a lot of carbohydrates also. But maybe let me say, okay, if you say fish, maybe if you say chicken, not the skin, because the skin has a lot of cholesterol, a lot of fat. I mean, it's oily. But yes, if you eat a lot of proteins, in fact, that's why I was saying we lack proteins as a society. People are missing proteins because the less proteins you have, the less muscles you're going to have. Especially the older you get, a lot of the reasons why elderly die is because they fracture. And why do they fracture? It's because they fall. It's because they lack those muscles in the body. A lot of proteins are missing. Yeah.
What of okay, so if another question, if I were to choose white meat and red meat, which one would you choose? Well, because white meat, just for context to our viewers, white meat is like chicken, right? Fish, and then red meat is on that's red. Beef. Yeah.
So ideally, yeah, white meat. Because even red meat, another challenge with it is that digesting it is hard. Actually, it can take a whole day for our body to digest meat. So you can be full the whole day, which is counterintuitive to what you're trying to achieve. So I think personally, the one which is done a lot of magic for clients, but even myself is fasting, time restriction. Because fasting, at least let me say 8 hours a day, even 10 hours, is so crucial for you to lose weight because it takes 8 hours for our body to run out of the food you have taken. So the body will now start using the storage. And if even the storage you use it can also go ahead and use fats, which is now, okay, the ketogenic diet. So the body can start using ketones. So fasting 8 hours a day, it is really healthy. I don't think there's anything which works as much as what you call intermittent fasting. For you to lose weight, for you to live healthy. You'll even feel better. The body is less inflamed. The mind is more clear. You'll sleep better.
Okay, so that's for someone who wants to lose weight. Intermittent fasting.
Not just losing weight, even managing life. Actually.
Even managing life, yes. I understand.
Yes.
But okay, managing life. So you can wake up in the morning and then you decide to eat like at 3, 4?
Yeah, in the morning, yeah, you can take actually heavy breakfast. If you take heavy breakfast.
Oh, so I can take heavy breakfast?
Yeah.
Then I take dinner. Is that intermittent fasting?
Yes, that's intermittent fasting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just giving us space.
True.
So that spectrum of people want to lose weight is a lot, but they also people want to gain. The people who are very, very slim, but no matter what they do, whether they eat what, they're not gaining weight. So what are some of the foods what is the natural way that someone can gain weight if they would want to like add a little what? What are some of the foods that you would be like, if you eat this, yeah?
Well, in a sense, you are lucky if you are failing to gain weight because majority of us are dealing with a lot of weight actually.
Yeah.
But if it's a man, especially, but if anyone for that matter, proteins, build more muscles. Don't go for building more fat in the body, but build more muscles. Take more of those proteins. Yeah, that is the right way to go if you want to gain, for that matter, body. Yeah. Okay,
so we have 7 days in a week. So how many days would you recommend plant proteins, and how many days would you recommend me to eat the meat side of the proteins?
Okay, fair enough. So I think 1 or 2 days, if you're eating meat protein, that one is okay. But ideally, plant protein, you can eat it daily because you still need daily proteins. Yeah.
So plant protein you can eat daily, but of course people like meat, so you can chip in like 2-3 days.
Yeah, 2-3 days. Okay, depending also on your pocket. I mean, if you can afford it, yeah.
Okay, that's okay. So, and then probably, is it okay now for a scenario where someone is eating meat every day? Is that okay? Red meat. I'm eating meat.
Anyway, it's tricky because, like, talked about digestion. Even the more you eat meat, the more you lose appetite. So yeah, I think it is less likely for someone to eat meat daily. Chips and chicken, yes, but not meat. I don't think it's rare you'll find someone. But if there's actually a person who can eat meat daily, they'll also be healthy in a sense, because you'll not eat other carbohydrates. You'll just focus on the meat alone. So actually, yeah, it can work, but it's challenging.
Okay. So lastly, if I have a plate, like I'm eating today, I'm preparing a meal, what should I aim for? What should be like if the plate is round, like should tell me like a quarter should be carbohydrates, this should be proteins, this should be greens, what fruits are recommended? Can I eat fruits every day? Can I choose to eat a banana in the morning, a banana in the afternoon, a banana? Is there ever too much fruits? Is there ever too much greens? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. As much as I'm not a nutritionist to some extent, but I emphasize the aspect of heavy breakfast. Get as much things as you can eat in that breakfast. Even processed food to some extent. But even if you're going to eat a bread with yellows, with I don't know, chicken, with eggs, with milk. Because the more you take a heavy breakfast, at least it gives you that ability to sustain the fasting for a day. And then in the evening, also, it is also good not to eat before you sleep. At least give the body 5, 6, 7 hours before you sleep. So that, because now if you eat before you sleep, you don't sleep well. It impacts your sleep also at the same time. Yeah. So you can take a heavy dinner, anyway, if just to compensate for that missed meal. Because at the end of the day, even the reason why we eat food is not just to survive, but also enjoy. So we cannot really take you away from eating food. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Jacob, for the episode. So we've come to the end, and I'd want you to give like say something that you'd want to say to the audience, in regards to that.
All right. Thank you. So as I've mentioned, the main 3 things: caloric restriction, dietary restriction, and time restriction. Specifically, the one of time restriction, because it's a lost art. Yes, there's a fasting season which has just ended. Some fast is still continuing. I think the more you sustain it, the more you'll feel better. The more you try that intermittent fasting, 8 hours a day with water, of course, not necessarily the one which is without water. You'll feel better. You'll feel healthier. You'll feel more energetic. And even you'll function better. You'll function better at work. You'll not feel sleepy at work. When you eat lunch, you'll start dozing off. So I think that is what can really help you to sustain. At the same time, you can eat as much food to some extent as a breakfast, as long as you are really compensating for it, which will probably be another discussion for exercise, because you also have to burn that energy.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Jacob. Thank you so much for watching this far. Hope you've learned a thing or two about diet. Hope you're going to be eating the right things. Avoid processed foods if you can. Fruits are better than fresh juice. I learned that today. So I hope you've learned something out of the diet episode. And thank you so much for tuning in and watching this far. This is the My Doctor podcast. My Doctor, your health, anytime, anywhere. My Doctor, your health, anytime, anywhere.